first off, thank you for answering the bat signal this morning.
Thanks for sending it out.
Well, I mean, you have golden ticket, and I didn't know if I'm getting you in trouble on back-to-back days for having you on. I mean, I don't want you to get in any kind of trouble with the rules.
I just shortened my lunch break.
Okay. Reason among others that I wanted to have you on, and it's a philosophical point that Michael Head has brought up this morning. And we'll get into the numbers, and we'll get into all the other stuff. I blew through Mike Woitala's numbers just a little bit ago, just to kind of give everybody a feel for what he thought the numbers should be for analysis on a game in a January camp. But Michael posed the question, why doesn't U.S. Soccer give away free tickets to a meaningless game? And I said, and I was getting revved up with my thoughts, and I said, thoughts. For a stadium that's going to be half full, announced attendance 11,475, and the new BMO, and that's $1 every time I call it Bank of California. The new BMO seats 22. Why not? And I know that I'm probably looking at something logically, and I apologize for doing that ahead of time. Why not make a statement to the local game and sit there and it's like, okay, you call it community relations for LAFC and go, okay, what youth programs can we get in here on short notice to come and watch a free match here at the stadium and make the place look lived in, all this kind of stuff? I mean, I admit I might have been looking at it logically, and I apologize.
Look, okay. So the answer is they should. I don't know if it needs to be free. I don't know if that's the right path, but give discounts to local clubs, allow them to buy listen, I have ref for plenty of local clubs in Atlanta. They got the money to spend on $210 tickets. That's what you do. You say, hey, we're going to give you tickets for $10. You're all going to be in this youth section right here. So at least one or two sections look really full. You got a bunch of kids at the game. I think you're 100% right that they should do that. I don't think that U.S. Soccer is going to miss out on a profit at all. But it doesn't cost them anything to have. You would rather have a full stadium with some ticket price than an empty stadium where I don't know what the ticket prices were for this game. I know they are $51 for the She Believes Cup I'm going to next month. So their ticket pricing strategy does need to be evaluated. And this is something that I hope the new by the way, there's a press conference for U.S. Soccer at 11 a.m. this morning.
That is true, yes.
Cindy Cohn and BT, whatever his name is.
P.T. Barnum?
P.T. Barnum, yeah. But Cindy and P.T. need to look at this and evaluate if their ticket pricing makes sense. Because I'm not going to go as far as say get prices out fans. That's not my point. What it does price out is the desire to go to a friendly like this.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I don't think a $50 ticket to a She Believes Cup is necessarily pricing out fans. Now we'll see when I go on February 19th up in Nashville. But I do think that it's not pricing them out in terms of, I can't afford that. It's do I want to pay that?
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's about price point and the supply, demand, and price point. All of those things that we sit there and we wonder about.
Yeah. Another thing that I saw, John, was, and granted, the West Coast people complain all the time about getting these crap games, but whatever, is play these in smaller markets.
Yeah.
You could have played this in Phoenix at that stadium, the 9,000 seater, the Gila Monster Sports Complex and Casino.
Yeah, So where Phoenix Rising play.
Where Phoenix Rising plays. You could have. Maybe this is obviously way down the line, but work with Las Vegas, depending on if they get an MLS team or not, but work with the Lights to fix up the Cashman Field facilities so that they're a little bit more tenable. I don't know, but maybe this is a game you go to Sacramento for. There are ways to grow the game because I remember distinctly going to a USA Jamaica game in 2000. When was that? 15 or 16 when they played up in Chattanooga.
Yeah.
and the goalkeeper is wearing the same color uniform as the Jamaican players. I don't know how that got passed by FIFA, but whatever. But there are opportunities to go to slightly smaller markets with these games. For those of you who listened to the podcast yesterday and then followed up with the tweet that I put out, there are plenty of states that have not hosted, period, a men's match. Half of them haven't, and a good many of the ones who even haven't hosted a match since what I consider the postmodern era, which for me is 2002 on.
Right.
Could you have played? I don't want to play at a baseball stadium, so you can't play in Albuquerque. And if you play at New Mexico's University Stadium, you're not really solving the attendance issue.
No.
But there are ways to find smaller team markets and go put the U.S. men's national team in front of those fans in a 9,000 to 10,000 seat stadium. It's possible.
Yeah, Bam mentions Torero, where the San Diego Loyal play. Instead of playing at Snapdragon, where it's 30 plus, you go play at Torero or something like that.
Okay, this is gonna get me in trouble with the people who like to think pie in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
But let me add a dose of reality to that. I genuinely don't know. Is a Torero Stadium facility, not the stadium itself, all the other facilities, up to the standards of professional soccer players?
And that's part of it too. I imagine that U.S. Soccer on the whole has a guidebook, and it might be it might be a pamphlet size. Yeah. I don't think it's necessarily something that's an inch thick, but I'm sure that they are basic guidelines where you sit there and it's like, okay, we've got to have this, we've got to have this, we've got to have all of these different things, whether it has to do with training, facilities, locker rooms, access,
right.
all the marketing elements that you have to have, concessions, all of those different things. Whether Ferrero, as an example, would meet that, we don't know. But I imagine
same thing with the Phoenix Stadium. It's a temporary thing, essentially. I don't know what that looks like. But yeah, that's the issue. Is you do not just put a game in the middle of a field and say, okay, go play. This is not Field of Dreams.
Yeah, as much as we'd like for it to be Dyersville, Iowa. And then folks are mentioning Atlanta for a situation like that.
I don't want Atlanta to get a game like this because I don't think it would be a good representation of our fan base, to be quite honest. I don't think we would get a sellout crowd in Atlanta for a U.S. C team versus Serbia's C team.
Not even if you had it at the fraction, just for the sake of argument.
I said Atlanta.
Okay. All right. Because I know a lot of folks would sit there and they wanted to have it at Mercedes-Benz, but there's the turf thing that we talk about.
Yeah. The fraction is a very fine venue for Kennesaw State University athletics.
Mm-hmm. End of sentence. Understood. When you look at the other numbers, you look at the numbers last night. I went through the numbers that were given by Mike Woitala, and we know traditionally we have had issues when we've been discussing Soccer America numbers and valuations. We can play it cliffhanger style if you want, like Price is Right. Gaga Slonina got a 6.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Blocked a close. This is, like I said, this is Woitala from Soccer America. Slonina blocked a close-range shot from Veliko Simic, batted the ball to safety in the 31st minute, stood his ground to block Simic's volley in the 36th. Wall failed him on the first goal. Second goal was a Simic shot from close range, but had Slonina not dived, he may have been able to block it with his foot. So Slonina got a 6. I'm guessing you're thinking lower.
No, I think higher.
Okay.
Look, I'm not here to be too critical of anyone.
Yeah.
The kid's not even 20 years old.
And
playing his first.
And the context of the situation, which I think is lost on a lot of folks.
I thought he played great. Like, honestly, I was very happy with the way he played, to the point where I would say bring him into the March camp as the third goalkeeper, because you don't gain anything by having Sean Johnson there. Bring Gaga in. That's where I'm at with him. Is I think he deserves to just be around, because he's not, and I mean this sincerely, and because it's not a bad thing that he's not playing for the Chelsea full team. Like, again, he's 19, he's a goalkeeper, he's learning. So you can pull him from Chelsea's U21 team to say, hey, come to camp with us. that's a better learning experience. Maybe it's a different learning experience than what he's getting at Chelsea day in and day out, and it's a cool experience. Let him fly to Grenada and enjoy some time on the beach, and then go up to Orlando apparently, and then go back to London. Get him out of London for a week.
Yeah.
The poor kid. Let him see sunshine for once this year, and then send him back.
All right.
He'll go back with a tan. He'll think he's from frickin', I don't know, like Morocco.
Yes. Defenders. Gressel gets a 6. Walker Zimmerman a 3. Jalen Neal got a 4. Jonathan Gomez got a 5.
I just want to quickly point out Bobby Dodd. I know people believe that it's the same thing that it ever existed when we played there, but it is now turf.
Yeah.
So,
sorry,
Coco.
And I think that you would also probably have to blow out. I don't think it meets size spec anymore.
Doesn't have the greatest pitch. The pitch size is fine. It's everything else. Julian Gressel had a great assist on Brandon Vasquez's goal.
End of sentence.
Did not have a great rest of the match. Like I got to be real honest.
Serbia found out that if they attacked that side, they could have a lot of success. They just weren't clinical in the end. Yeah. Gressel had a nightmare defensively.
Yeah, I thought the other defenders were fine. I don't care about Walker Zimmerman's performance all that much. He is who he is. I don't expect him to be around deep into the 2026 cycle just because of how many center backs we have below him. But he's a good veteran presence that I'm not mad at. I don't think he played well, but I'm not going to spend too much time on that. I thought Jalen Neal is going to get roasted for the goal that happened, but I thought other than that, he played really well. I thought the problem was his numbers are bad because defensively he didn't have a whole lot to do, and the one time he needed to do something defensively, he didn't.
Yeah.
But his passing numbers, 93% passing, bro, that's fantastic. For a kid who's 19 years old, I expect him, if Chris Klein doesn't, stop paying people money that they're not owed or whatever it is that he's cheating at, put Jalen Neal in your starting 11.
Yeah.
What, 25 to 30 times this year. And I think LA will have a guy who they could sell in a couple years as a legitimate center back to European leagues. I'm not saying he's going to go play for Chelsea or Man City or Barcelona, but I could see him in Ligue 1. I can see him in Belgium or the Netherlands or one of those types of leagues that passing out of the back is very important and relied upon. So I thought he was very good. Jogo is who he is. Same with Jalen Neal. A lot of good, some bad. It's fine.
There you go. David Gomez has some Jedi Robinson energy, needs some work, but has flashes.
Exactly. He's 19 years old. Both of these guys, by the way, maybe Caleb Wiley is better than Jogo, but both of these guys need to be worried more about the U20 World Cup coming up in May, and they should go. So that's where, if I'm the Galaxy, start him as much as you can, send him to the U20 World Cup. You're looking at a guy who's going to make you a couple million.
All right, midfield. Got a lot of 4s. Senora, Aiden Morris, Paxton Pomacall all got 4s. Senora in his first cap, Aiden Morris in his first, Paxton Pomacall in his second.
Yeah.
They all got 4s.
Okay, I'm going to try to be somewhat nice and not overreactionary over a January friendly.
Okay.
I am willing to see more of Morris because I'm willing to accept that he was not great in his first cap, but I've seen him play decently well in MLS. He's also quite young. He's 21 years old and still has a lot of growing at that position to do. I hope Matt Doyle doesn't listen to this because I know his favorite person in literally the entire world is Paxton Pomacall. I don't need to see Paxton Pomacall anymore for the U.S. men's national team. I don't think he's impressed in either really time that he's been out there. I know it's only 2, but it's not the floor that we need it to be. And that's what these camps really are for, is how do we raise the floor of our talent floor. I don't think Paxton Pomacall does that. And I kind of think similarly with Alan Senora. A lot of good. He has some fantastic passing, a lot of not great. He doesn't really do anything after he's not on the ball. But hey,
Yes.
you got another one on Saturday. Maybe they prove me wrong.
Okay. Yeah, we know that we were making fun of JT Batson by calling him PT Barnum, but
Yeah, sorry.
it is CEO, Secretary General, and Cindy Parlow Cone video conference scheduled for 11. So we'll hear we'll hear / see what's going on with that as we continue to work forward this morning. See if any leaks of information about teases work our way through forwards.
It's kind of dropped on people. I saw
Yeah.
the media people who were tweeting about it felt like it was just okay. So it could be just an update.
Yeah.
But we've already seen one thing happen supposedly in relation to the investigation. I do genuinely hope that it is a confirmation that Greg Berhalter will not be back as head coach. I doubt that's what it is, but I would love for that to be part of that conversation, because I think right now the problem we have is a cloud of mystery over, like, Anthony Hudson. Is he the interim because Greg is he the vice president promoted to president because the president is under anesthesia right now, or
Well, I mean,
is Greg Berhalter actually out and Anthony Hudson is in?
I think it is, if you look at it technically, since Greg Berhalter is not under contract,
Right.
therefore you don't have, and this is, like I said, this is looking at the logistics of the titles and the contracts. Greg Berhalter's contract ran out 26 days ago.
Yep.
Therefore, on January 1st, when you're having your first cup of coffee, you're not, naming a successor. Therefore, the job for the head coach for the men's national team
Right.
is vacant. Therefore, you name an interim,
Right.
and that is where Anthony Hudson comes in.
But that said, yes. But again, the issue is, wait, does Greg have a chance? And I'm not saying he shouldn't, but I don't think it does any good to say, oh, he's still in the mix. It really just doesn't help, because we need to know if we're moving on,
Yeah,
or if we are continuing. And to be quite honest, that would help Anthony Hudson, because he mentioned a couple of times in his pregame presser of, like, trying to keep it similar to Greg and everything. And obviously, Anthony Hudson was an assistant under Greg. But it does. We need to figure out if we're moving on or if we're staying the same.
yeah, and the verbiage that has been used, as you mentioned, from the soccer media, Glenn Crooks, he says just scheduled for his verbs of choice.
Yeah.
Charlie Bohm has announced a media availability. So Kyle Bond are speaking. So you're seeing this kind of stuff. The active verbs are like, oh, okay. So
Yes, exactly.
We'll see what happens at 11 o'clock. Although David has no faith in anything. He says it's going to be the Gary Bettman presser from Monday. Hi, I'm here. Nothing to say. Just saying we're here.
And it very well may just be like, hey, we have maybe it's to confirm Brian McBride is out. That could be very much it. Like, yeah, actually, this is what we found, and this is why he's out. Which, again, wouldn't be the worst thing ever. Like, give us actual news. Don't just call a press conference because you want to talk.
Yeah. See Manfred, Rob. See Bettman, Gary. Yeah. That kind of stuff. Bam. Greg's going to get a contract extension. That's what Bam is saying from Australia this morning. Okay, so numbers up front. Zendejas a 6, Vasquez a 7, Cade Cowell a 7. A lot of folks were looking at Cade Cowell as one of the check pluses from last night with what he was able to do.
Yeah, I think my response to Cade Cowell's performance is I want to see him do it again on Saturday, because Cade has, and he does this in MLS, he has really good games, and then he has a game or two where it's like, okay, did you play soccer today? And so I want him to continue that, because I think he could be, again, as we look toward 2026 and beyond, because he is so young, a kid who could play that Jordan Morris role of, hey, we need a guy who's a domestic-based player who's going to give us a lot of effort, give us a lot of speed on the wing, maybe do some cool things, because he was very good last night. He hit both posts. Thought he was going to go for a crossbar. He was everywhere around the goal, but not in it.
Yes.
And to be fair, look, he's out of season. Like, I'm not going to hold finishing too much to anyone's standards, except for complimenting Brandon Vasquez for finishing better than Jesus Ferreira has ever dreamed of. But I thought Cade had a very good performance. It was a very focused and deliberate performance. He wasn't doing extra stuff. His goal when he got the ball was to find a way to get a goal. And that's a positive. Let's see if he can do it again. He's another guy who I think his goal, his main focus right now needs to be having a very good U20 World Cup. Because he has, again, an opportunity, if he performs well there, to raise his stock. And it's either a contract extension with the salary increase from San Jose or possibly a move overseas.
When's U20 camp? When are those leading into the U20 World Cup?
Well, we have one going on right now.
Okay.
And so that's kind of this weird thing of like, you see a lot of these guys, Neil, Gomez, Gaga, Cade, who are in this camp who are actually U20 eligible. I think a lot of that has to do, Paxton Aronson as well, has to do with their clubs are like, yeah, you can go, but like, we need you back, right? But obviously Tyler Wolf and Caleb Wiley are at the main U20 camp down in Florida right now. The U20 World Cup will be at the middle of May, so expect a camp before that. It wouldn't surprise me if that March FIFA window that the U.S. plays Nations League, that there's not also a U20 camp going on at the same time, especially because I think the team will be camped in Florida. The senior team will be camped in Florida. It wouldn't surprise me if they do a dual U20 and senior team camp in Florida, probably at one of those training facilities. Not Orlando, because I don't have training facilities, but other cities that actually have real infrastructure and people who actually make you, like being there.
Yeah, something like that.
Not Orlando.
Not Orlando. Coco with a question, and I know that this was part of the plan. I just don't know the timetable. I know Atlanta's looking at natural grass options for MBS for the World Cup. Could we test the field for a U.S. friendly in the lead up, maybe around 24?
No. John, correct me if I'm wrong here, but it's not that we're laying grass over top the turf.
No,
the turf is coming out.
Yeah.
The grass is going in.
Yeah.
So, no. Short answer.
Yeah, and that's the thing here, because there's going to be, when the cities were announced for 2026, the press conference here in the city laid out the plans for, okay, we're converting it. We're not just, we're not putting icing on the cake. We're baking a cake. Literally, it's right. We're taking what's there, it's leaving, and then we're bringing grass in. And the key is to make sure that the grass stays as healthy as possible. Right. That is the horticulturalist challenge. Wow, I actually said it correctly. That's what you're staring at here, and that conversion, and there's going to be time for conversion, and you've got to think about all of these other logistical things that are attached to it. But trying to get everything right. You're not just clamping it on top and making a sandwich. You're not putting the bread on top of the meat. Literally, you're creating something on the plate. So that's what you're staring at here. Let's see. So I want to get the words correct. How it was phrased.
To that point, though, John, I would love to see Atlanta bid for a Copa America 24 or Gold Cup 25 or 23 host location.
Yeah, absolutely.
We can test out. The grass, no.
I'm for it. Is there any other measured feedback from last night that you have in general that we haven't gotten into because of grades from Mike Voitala?
I do not care that we lost to Serbia. I don't care. You know why we lost? We had two individual mistakes. Jalen Neal didn't respond well enough, and that's a learning opportunity. Jalen Neal messing up in that moment right there is perfect. You know why? He learned in a game that means absolutely nothing. It means something, don't get me wrong, Blake, but like in the grand scheme of things, the whole point of this friendly is for players like Jalen Neal making their first cap at a very young age to mess up and learn from it. That is a positive. It really is. The fact that we lost doesn't matter. Serbia had not a very good game either, to be quite honest. I thought we outplayed them for most of the game. They got lucky on a broken wall because Walker Zimmerman and Julian Gressel decided to part the Red Sea. And then Jalen Neal didn't respond quick enough or appropriately enough to a kind of in-between ball situation. That's it. That was really, Gaga had great saves, but it's not like we weren't also pummeling their goal either. Their goalkeeper made some great saves. Cowell hit the post twice. These are learning opportunities,
right? And you had 6 subs come in. Aaron Long, Eric Williamson, DeJuan Jones, Kellen Acosta, Matthew Hoppe, Paul Arriola. Those were your subs last night. DeJuan Jones gets capped for the first time.
I thought he looked very good, by the way.
And you had 8 debutantes, 7 starting. The 8th, obviously, is DeJuan Jones. Eric Williamson gets his 5th cap. Matthew Hoppe gets his 7th. Arriola, who has stuck with the idea of wanting to try to continue to prove himself to be worthy of getting call-ups. One of the bigger names in this camp, gets his 49th. Kellen Acosta his 56th. Aaron Long his 30th. And Aaron Long, from Woitala's perspective, was given a 3.
Good.
Let me see how many.
I got to be real honest. I don't care to see Aaron Long play for the U.S. men's national team ever again. And this is not meant to be mean. I don't know what role is he going to play for the 2026 cycle. I mean that sincerely. I feel very similarly about Paul Arriola. I'm glad they came to the camp. They got called up. Sure, that shows great character. I don't care. I don't care to see them anymore. They're not going to add anything to this team or this program going forward. Sorry.
Who's on that list for you? How big a list is that for you?
So I think Walker, Zimmerman, and Tim Ream are in the same spot of like Walker is a perfectly fine veteran center back to have in camps like this here. I want Tim Ream to be the same way when we have camps in Europe and probably for the senior team. But I got to be honest, Sean Johnson, thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for representing Georgia, but I don't know if you're going to be playing a big role in 2026. Aaron Long is on it. Paul Arriola is on it. Christian Roldan is on it for me. Mm-hmm. Jordan Morris is on it. I don't think they're going to add anything that we can't find from someone. And that's where we're at, is we need to find who that player is for this cycle and beyond. I said, Cade Cowell can do a lot of Jordan Morris things and maybe better because he's doing it at an earlier age. He didn't go to college like Jordan Morris. He didn't go to Stanford and play a couple years. He turned pro. I just, especially with the way that Alejandro Zendejas looked last night, what exactly do we need a Paul Arriola or Jordan Morris for right now? So
you look at those, and obviously you've got 4 years to build here. One of the other names that was brought up early in the show on the Twitch pitch was George Bello. And I know since we're based here, there's a lot of local interest in in George Bello and having him be a part of the national team. But I went through where his team currently is right now, and they're in the relegation playoff spot in 2 Bundesliga.
If you're an Atlanta United fan trying to get a player to the national team right now, mm-hmm. Take your eggs out of the George Bello basket, put them in the Caleb Wiley basket.
That's what I'm looking at here, because George has moved to Germany. His team has been relegated. They're on the verge of getting relegated again and going to 3 Liga. And George is not getting regular minutes for a relegated side in 2 Bundesliga.
Yeah.
So that should, tell you a lot about the decision that was made, sadly, and a lot of the other folks that have passed him by in this process. But yes, I think that you look at what Caleb Wiley has been building, lock into Caleb Wiley. And that, I think, is key for Atlanta United fans going forward, because the youth is there, and Caleb Wiley on the left-hand side to help out your striker back in Andrew Gutman when that comes to play.
Striker, center, fullback.
Yes.
Center, forward, striker, back.
There you go. So
and goalkeeper, maybe. I don't know. Try him out.
So your CFSB, Andrew Gutman, gets the assistance from the outside with Caleb Wiley. Look at Caleb Wiley and see how he continues to go. Bam, with a question before you turn into a pumpkin and go back to the real world.
Yeah, I'm almost there.
Well, as I said, when you said that you were trimming your lunch, I figured 10 o'clock is a solid point here. Can you see more players deciding not to go to college and turning pro straight away?
Yeah. I mean, I think we're seeing that already, right? I mean, we looked at Jalen Neal, Aiden Morris, Gaga Slonina, Jonathan Gomez, Paxton Pomacall, Cade Cowell. Those guys went pro. What you're going to see is a lot of these guys from professional academies who are top performers at that and their academy at their age group are going to turn pro. That said, we're still going to see a lot of influx of the college game because you're going to have, like Atlanta United does, an academy that produces very good players that top college teams are going to want. That said, you're also going to get one or two per class that maybe can play professionally. The thing that is a good thing. I still think the college game and that route is a positive for U.S. soccer as a whole. It gives another development track that other countries do not have and do not utilize. It gives you 2 to 4 years to develop as an adult and learn how to be a little bit more professional, because in the college game, you are learning what it means to train every day for a purpose. That is not just me developing. You are trying to win games for something. But I think that overall, as our academy systems improve, we will be seeing more kids choosing to go the pro route than the college route. But don't forget, there is a limit to how many professional players can be on a professional team roster, right? So it's not like you're just going to have a team full of academy players unless they're all very good. We're not Dallas because we actually want to win.
You realize, of course, that the bat signal may go up tomorrow. And you might just be storming the gates again tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll see.
What happens at 11 o'clock. So thanks for shortening your lunch. Go back to the real world. We'll catch up with you later.
Thank y'all.